Alright guys, so we got a 2009 Ford Flex here. We're gonna start up the engine. It's misfiring, cylinder 3, p0303. Go ahead, start the car. As you can see, there's a misfire, okay? You can hear it, feel it at the muffler. So cylinder 3 is misfiring. We got the check engine light over there, and sometimes it flashes. So what we're gonna do is, cylinder 3 is all the way in the back, okay? It's gonna be we're gonna have to take off this intake here, and we're gonna do this job complete, okay? We might end up changing spark plugs and change the ignition coil. So the third coil, ignition coil, sits all the way back there. So it's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're gonna do a small little test. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pull coil on each ignition and see if it makes a difference. So this one right here, okay, so this coil is pretty much good, and the red clip is broken there. We're gonna have to figure that out too. So let's try this one. And what we're gonna do here is same thing. There you go. And let's try this one as well. These connectors are no joke. There you go. So all three are functioning here. So what you want to do is you want to change the 3 plugs and the coils if you like back there. So what we're going to do is, to start with, we're going to remove this intake pipe here. It's already pretty much a vacuum line sensor. We'll just take off this whole pipe here, and we'll remove this duct pipe. We'll take off this, we'll take off that. We'll remove this guy right here, and then we probably got a couple of hooks in the back. Let's see what we can do. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this guy right here. There's a red little tab in the bottom. You pull on that. I'm gonna show you that once this guy's out, and then you squeeze the connector. Okay, so you're gonna pull on this and then squeeze, and this guy comes off. Let's remove this. Let's remove this. We got a vacuum line here, so this is not a big deal. This guy can just come off. We got this little guy right here. So to take this guy off, you're gonna pull this back. Okay, pretty much this little white clip here. Pull it back and out, and this guy should simply just come out just like that. Don't break it, don't bend it, let it just slide to the left there. So what I'm gonna do next is, we got this off. We're gonna take off this guy right here. There's a small little screw right here, Phillips head screwdriver. This little guy right here, so you're gonna just turn this little screw right here with the Phillips head screwdriver. Once we got this baby open, make sure you don't let nothing drop inside the block. Other than that, you're gonna destroy the whole engine. Once that's loose, we should be able to pull this guy off. This whole thing should just come off just like that. Let's put this to the side. Now it's a good time to change your air filter. This one's pretty clean. You're gonna leave it alone. Okay, so going further, okay, there's a whole bunch of, okay, somebody worked on this, so we're missing a screw right there. That's a good for me, but you might want to take that off. What I like to do is, I do not like to take off this throttle body. I do not like to disconnect it because we don't need to, because you're gonna lose memory. But let's take off this little guy right here. This is a vacuum line here also. You squeeze on this, and you should be able to get this guy off. Let me try with my other hand. Just like that. Don't put no weight on this. This will break. Okay. Very important line right here, vacuum line. Okay, we're gonna take off this vacuum line. This goes to your brake booster. If you do not put this back in, your brakes are gonna fail. Okay, so make sure that's in. We got this little guy right here. We're gonna pop this guy off, and then we got a small little pipe here, vacuum line. So I'm gonna go get a couple of retainers here. Needle noses will do the job. Okay, so that's it so far. Looking good. All right, guys. So to reach in here, I'm gonna use this long needle nose. So what we're gonna do here is, I'm gonna try to get this guy off. Again, this is plastic intake, so you don't want to break anything like I mentioned about this. And you don't want to squeeze this. You don't want to do nothing like that, okay? If you need to wiggle this a bit, just tiny little pressure. wiggle it back and forth. Don't squeeze it too hard. And if you need to pull this off, you can use something, a force in this direction here. Little guy like me can't even reach over the hood. I had a Ford 150 over here, man. I had to put 3 boxes to stand on it to get up in the hood. That was last week. Okay, so this guy's off just like that. Remember, there's a vacuum pipe over here also. This connects to the valve cover here. So what we're gonna do here is same thing here. Let me get that off as well. Okay, so I'm trying to get this guy off. So I'm gonna use me. You can use a flathead screwdriver. Just try to push it back very gently. And over time, this pipe will get hard, so it's gonna be hard to take off. And usually these crack also, so if you see any cracks, replace it. You don't want a vacuum leak. So pretty much everything is loose. Remember, somebody worked on this before, so we're missing a bolt here, which is not a big deal. Okay, what are we gonna do is, so if that's missing, I assume they went in back of this intake, so they're probably losing up all the other pipes, all the other brackets in back of the intake. But if I see any brackets back there, I'll show you guys. So it's time for me to, if you're gonna take off this bolt, this little guy is holding this fuel line here. We're gonna take off this bolt. We're gonna take off this bolt. We got this bolt here. Okay, we got this bolt here. There's nothing in between. Okay, there's nothing down below. And we got this little harness stuck over here. So we're gonna just yank that up. We got a bolt here, a bolt here. These are all 8 millimeters. What we got here is number 8 is the first thing I want to take off right here. Very important to put this back in. And I would not recommend you put all the bolts up on the top. Make sure there's nothing up here. These leaves are fine. Nothing metal, like if somebody worked on it, and just by in case you touch it. So we're gonna put this over here. I like to keep my bolts in the corner here. So this is fine here. You see it's moving now. So what we're gonna do with the intake is we're gonna lift it and move it gently, because remember, our harness is still on. So I even pull this off. So all you need to do is yank this guy off. Now is the part where we're gonna start taking off these bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can feel the intake already moving. 5, and there you go. I felt the intake just move. So let's see if these babies come off completely. So they do come off completely. Keep them in order. So this is from right there in the center. I'm gonna put this one here. These 2. 1, 2. It'll be just like me looking at the intake, just like this, just like that. All right. So that's that. And this one goes here. So these 2 and this one is same length. We got 2 more. 1 and 2. You don't want to leave these bolts behind, because it's just by in case you drop it, comes out, goes in the block, you're screwed. All right, so these 2 stay here. Very simple. So there you go. So they did mess around with this intake before me, and everything is loose. So what do we have here? Okay, so we got this. So let's pop this. You can leave this behind. Okay, just pop this guy off. Okay, there you go. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have my friend hold my camera now. It's running. The camera's running. You don't have to press it. Stay on the side. Gotcha. So what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna just take this intake slowly. Sometimes you won't have a lot of room. If there's any pipes back there, we'll figure those out. But you don't need a lot of room to change the ignition coil. Let's put this vacuum line behind. Okay, there you go. The baby is off. Okay, let's not put too much load on this harness. There you go. Very simple to get to. And at this point, I would suggest get a rag and just stick it down here so you don't drop anything, because it's going to be taking off a few more bolts, so nothing goes in there. So this is cylinder number 3 right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this ignition coil, and if I feel like it, I'm going to change the spark plugs, and let's see how that goes. So this thing has a connector here, so just pull on this connector. This goes out. So this. All right, so we're gonna put a pause here. We're gonna pause here. Recording. It's recording. All right, so I'm gonna take my ratchet here. So what we're gonna do is, this is the bad coil, okay? This is the bad coil, but it could be a bad cylinder, so that's the engine block. You can't do much about it, but we're gonna assume, because we cannot test, that it is a bad ignition coil. So we're gonna change ignition coil, and since this one is bad, what we're gonna do here is, this coil has to get the hell out of here, and we do not want this coil back in the same spot. You don't want to mix it up the other one, then you're not gonna know which one is bad. So once that screw is off, we're gonna take a flathead screwdriver or something similar to this, and we should be able to pop this ignition coil off just like that. And there you go, half of the piece stayed behind. I don't know why, that usually happens with Fords. So we're gonna fish that out. Alright guys, so remember, there's a boot in front of this ignition coil. The ignition coil looked like it broke. Maybe that was the issue. Definitely looked like some spark was occurring in there, but that piece stayed behind. Take a look. So yeah, so you got the metal piece spring and the rubber boot. Gonna change the spark plug, so I cannot fit none of my tools there because this won't work there. I'm hitting the wall up here. If I try one of these small ones, that doesn't reach in there. So what my plan here is, I want to spray some lubrication, WD-40. Try to get around it so it can submerge the rubber boot. Once we get the rubber boot off, we should be able to pull that off with something. So I'm going to just try to spray some of this penetrating oil all around the cylinder. And after that, what I want to do here is, I want to take my pick here. I want to move that rubber boot around if my pick is able to go in there. Just go around that rubber boot all around so it can let go at least from the cylinder itself. Okay, and then I'm gonna let it sit there for a while. What I want to do is I want to use this pick here. It's a curved. I'm gonna try to grab that rubber and pull it off. If that works. If not, I'm gonna just have to keep trying till something works on this baby. Something has to work. And I might do a little bit off the camera so you guys might not see, but this is what it is. I don't know if something moved. And before I take off the spark plug, I am gonna be blowing some air on this baby. So let's see where we stand here right now. All right guys, so give me a moment. I am going to be working with this and I will update you guys with the rest of the stuff. Oh my god. Okay guys, so what I did here was I stuck this guy in there completely, okay, completely. So I went from the side and I pushed this pick at the end and it grabbed it. I've been on it for 2 hours, but it only took me 3 seconds to get this guy off. There you go. It came out pretty easy. Anyways, that's how you're gonna do it. Now we're gonna pull out the spark plug. All right, so we got this socket 5x8 with about 2 inches extension, and we're gonna pull out the spark plug. So if you want to do that for these two, you can while it's open, but we're only going to mess with what we need to mess with because now we got an idea how to take off that crazy rubber piece. So if these fails, it's 20 minutes for me to take off the intake and probably going to be another 10 minutes to get that rubber boot off. Worst come to worst. So once it's loose, so I do not want to put this spark plug. Okay, well, you know what I want to do before I take out the threads completely? Hold on to the camera there. I am gonna get some air. Okay, where's my air? I'm gonna blow some air in there. That way, if there's any small particles, watch out, right? Yep. If there's any small particles in there, they will just fly out. Oh, be careful. I did spray some lubrication, so I want all that out. Get tired, let me know. I'm good. And now we're gonna turn out the spark plug. You don't want to drop nothing inside the bore of the cylinder. There you go. And I need my magnet next. Let's see what the plug look like. So the plugs are old. We're gonna change this one. So down the road, we might do them all one by one. But for now, if the car is good, we'll think about that for down the road. But anyways, we're gonna pause there. All right, so I got my extension here with this little rag. I just want all this lubrication that I threw on it to be wiped off. And that's it, that's all you need to do. And wipe off all this crazy stuff, all this liquid here. Okay, I'm gonna go get a new spark plug. Okay, so here's the old plug. You'll always want to match the length of it. You don't want to put a short or too long of a plug that will hit the piston. Make sure the gap is good. And we're using original Motorcraft plugs. So what I want to do here is slowly take this by your hand, finger, and don't just throw it in there. Let it go to the bottom as much as possible and then let it go. That way you don't break the tip of the spark plug and damage the gap or close the gap. That's going to cause a misfire as well. But once you do that, you should be good. Catch the threads by hand as much as you can. If you want to torque it, you can torque it, but we're going to hand tighten this baby. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to snug it really nice. There you go. I feel it. That's it. You don't want to break the plug either. All right, let's take a look at this ignition coil just like that. So here's our new ignition coil. This is the boot that stayed behind. And here's the part number on this ignition coil. Motorcraft, we're using original stuff. Once you have this open, you don't want to put nothing cheap in there. So stick this in, tap on it. Make sure you get your connector on really good. Make sure it clicks or you feel it click. There you go. If you don't feel that click, you didn't hear it, it's probably gonna come loose with the vibration. Let me just check these as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go get the number 8. So here's our number 8. 8mm. Our misfire should be resolved as long as there's no other issues, but that coil looked damaged to begin with. So I am confirmed that was the issue. Hand tight this baby.